special event permits for returning events, so nothing new at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna, after we got the agenda, I thought maybe the other ones, because it's, just so you know, Sam and Art, it's the same for all the rest of the agenda.
Yeah, nothing pulled over, which is okay. We'll just talk a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think the next two didn't have attachments anyways, so but the other two did, so it's kind of strange.
Well, I did see, it was in the paper on Friday or Saturday here in the Register. They had, let's see this front page, what day it was. It was on Saturday. It's called Find Your Hearts exhibit that
Yes.
part of the Arts Council maybe is going to be doing. It's going to be coming next year, and they have a cute little picture of the glass hearts. So that's going to be a year from now. Is that from what the article?
Yeah, so they picked up on that from just our budget conversation. So it was probably a slow news day, I guess. Because the Arts Commission was, discussing their future budget, and they picked up that article.
So that'll be the first hunting, go seek and find. That'll be the first one for us.
Yeah,
that'll be next year.
Yeah, next year. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just get the email then from you later.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then 7D is presentation on the capital improvement plan.
Yes, I'll be presenting that. Can I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes. Welcome, Rosalba, also.
Oh, thank you. Let me know if you can see the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm Rosalba Ramirez. I'm the Deputy Public Works Director, and I'm going to give you a quick presentation on our capital improvements program and the Parks and Recreation projects that are a part of it. PowerPoint's thinking. I'm sure it'll click over it. There it goes. First, I want to go over the project we just completed. It was previously programmed in one of the prior years. Public Works was able to complete this project in 2021, and it was the removal and replacement of a restroom over at Community Park on the north end of town. We completely demoed the old existing restroom that was there, and we had Schaefer Engineering Inc., a construction company, hired them on to do the site work and the building pad preparation, and then we installed a manufactured restroom manufactured restroom. And here I have a quick summary of the components of that project. We completed it in December. The construction costs of the site work, the building pad, the utilities, and the sidewalk around it cost $43,850. And the manufactured restroom itself, including the installation, was $155,000. And some of the pictures I have here this is what the building pad looked like right before the installation. So Schaefer Engineering came, demoed the entire restroom, graded the area, built that pad and installed the utilities, and had it ready to go for the company to come and deliver and install the restroom. And so here's a picture of the restroom mid-air. It was lowered down by a crane onto the pad, fit perfectly. And then the last picture shows the sidewalk and the fence around the restroom that is now up and running and in use at the community park in North Yonko.
And I just add, Rosalba, that project was almost entirely funded by a state of California Parks and Recreation grant. So you may have remembered that. I think we came before you with that information, but I like to remind people that was a grant-funded bathroom. So.
And I'll go over just the few projects we have in our next 2 years in the plan. And I just want to make sure to state that this is still the draft plan. We still have to present it to town council for approval, and that will happen in May. As you can see, in the next 2 years, the portion of the project listed involve maintenance and repair to the community facilities, the community center, community hall. The Parks and Recreation CIP projects are set up to address the various recreational needs of the community. This includes constructing accessible pathways and/or parking to existing parks, updating existing facilities like park bathrooms and playgrounds, and maintaining our community facilities like community center and community hall. These costs are also more of an estimate once we get further in the planning and design event where we get quotes, we're going to update these costs to reflect the actual need we're getting for the construction or the implementation or the maintenance and repair of these projects. Some of them we do already have quotes, and these are a little bit more accurate. But these are just the projects listed here we want to address.
Before you leave that, could I ask a couple questions?
Yes, and I should state I'll go over each one of these projects in the next couple of slides.
Okay, then I'll wait. Thank you.
So we'll start off with this Resurfaced Community Center gym flooring. This picture really doesn't show all the marks and scuffs on the floor, but it hasn't been resurfaced in a while, and it is starting to show. So we want to address this this year. So we want to get this work done. Also at the community center, there is currently exists a enclosed barbecue area that could be utilized more if it was set up for adequate storage instead of barbecuing. The project is programmed a year out, so not this year. This will give us enough time to get better quotes and an idea of what type of work is involved to make this into permanent storage as opposed to a barbecue area. And then the community center tile and drain replacement project, that's the courtyard area directly in front of the community center. It's another section that is in need of maintenance and repair. As you can see in the pictures, the tiles that are out there are broken in various locations, and we do want to address the existing drainage grates that are there and find a better solution to those big grates that are directly in front of the entrances of the center.
If I could ask a question, if you'd go back one slide, please. I just wanted to understand what your plan is in terms of replacing the tile, because that's been a problem for a number of years. It seems to be a recurring problem.
Yes, and so we are looking at different ideas. The one we're kind of leaning towards is not putting back tile at all, but replacing it with concrete to eliminate that future problem of the tile just repeatedly breaking and coming off.
Okay, thank you.
Additional areas that will be addressed include the public restrooms inside the community center. The existing concrete countertops are in pretty bad shape and need a repair or replacement. Again, I try to take pictures that really show the damage. You can kind of see some of the wear and tear on there, but once you take a look at it up close, you can really see that something should be done about the countertops. And the interior of both the community hall and the community center will receive a fresh paintwork. Pictures, again, don't fully show the different scratches and the wear and tear on the walls, but a fresh coat of paint will make a significant impact to the appearance of the building. So we have that scheduled as well. Tentative facility closure in August, September is scheduled, and we're trying to address some of these maintenance and repair and work items during that closure to really decrease the impact to the community and not have to work around the community that's using these facilities during that.
So it's not all of October, August, and September. We're looking at a 2-week period of time between when summer camp ends and classes begin right after Labor Day. So it's a 2-week full closure is what we're looking at.
Rosalba and Samantha, how will that impact the actual staff that are working there every day? I mean, I know Samantha's also around the corner, but
Yeah.
their staff there is all the time. And it's, I mean, I've had a lot of buildings that I own and have built. So, but obviously they can't be working there when you're working on the walls or painting or anything else. So what's going to happen to the staffing during that time, and how are you going to be able to accommodate the mainly locals, also visitors, to when they're going to be asking questions?
Yeah, so our plan is to remain, have the front desk open as much as possible or relocate that to another section of the building. The beauty of, coming out of the COVID situation is we're all able to work remotely. So staff will have the option to work remotely, but usually that period of time right after summer camp ends, we have 2 people that take vacation. So it ties in nicely. and then, we're definitely relied on as a community restroom facility. And so we do have those outdoor restrooms that will remain open. The library will remain open. They are also thinking about doing painting and maintenance during that time. So if they end up closing that, that's up to the Napa County Library. But yeah, we'll remain open. We can always, if we do end up having to close our front desk down, we reroute calls easily. We've done that before. And, most of the questions and things that we get are actually more related to the visitor center. So, we'll just have adequate signage, and then, we'll still be there around as we can be.
I mean, I'm sure you've all thought about this, but it is, what are the possibility of bringing in through the door next to Jennifer's office and setting a small, front desk there with some phone access?
Yeah, we have a couple different ways of looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll plan for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
The remaining projects on the 2-year list that I've shown are at various locations in town. The Vineyard Park path construction is a project that was previously programmed, and we are actively working on moving forward with it. The first phase of work will be determining the actual design. Once we have the design, we can get a better estimate for construction. We'll update the schedule for that project. The play surface that's shown for replace the play surface is located on the community park at north end of town. The current surface is showing signs of wear and tear. It's not a safety issue, and this is why we have it programmed out another year. That'll give us time to decide the best approach and discuss when the best time is to schedule the work or to minimize the impact on the community.
So do you anticipate doing something similar as far as the play service? Because my grandchildren, when they happen to be here, but not often, but just that is currently great because of the cushioning factor, and I'm not sure if all playgrounds have that anymore, but as opposed to go back to the old days of either asphalt or even just granite or something else. I mean, that soft surface is I think the best can happen, especially for little kids.
Yeah, we're looking at doing something similar to what's out there and keeping that aspect of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is very cushioning. It's really nice. Because I'm just trying to remember, the play surface, was that all put in the same time period that obviously the new equipment was put in? Or is it the surface has been there prior to that new equipment, like that picture now of the jungle gym that we're looking at?
Yeah, so I don't know, Rosalba, if you researched that at all, but I can fill in that blank. So it used to be bark. Even with this play equipment, it was bark. And so that all got removed, and we actually used some ADA money because it made the playground ADA accessible. And then, so that went in, and this is actually number 2. So we've already gone through the 5-year replacement of the surface and replaced it to what it is now, and now we're coming up on another 5-6 years of the surface. So this is the second time, yeah. And that's pretty much the lifespan of that product, and I think we're getting our money's worth out of it. So.
Well, and it's always so busy. I mean, it's just continuing.
That part is very busy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Alan, I know you want to ask about Vineyard Park.
Well, I appreciate your filling in the background on the play surface because my children have grown up in that park, and I remember the various iterations. And now that you mention it, I do recall that the lifespan of this is, to me, surprisingly short. 5 years for a synthetic substance. It just seems a little disappointing. It's a major undertaking to replace it and that sort of thing, but if it is, it is. So I appreciate that update. Rosalba had said that this is still at the planning stage for the Vineyard Park path and development of picnic tables and that sort of thing. So Has it changed dramatically from what's been presented in the past?
No, and so now that we're kind of pulling this project back up, we're pulling up all the old information that we had, this conceptual drawing from before, revisiting it and trying to see what's the best route to go. So we're picking this project back up. So
Good. The only comment that I would have based on the drawing that I see and some comments that I've heard in the past is when we do hold pickleball events there, to have bleachers or some kind of seating on the east side there would be very helpful, because that way spectators can watch or in a more comfortable setting. So it's just something to think about as we go forward.
okay.
That wouldn't interfere with the neighborhood with noise for or permitting for having bleachers and etc.
I wouldn't envision they're more than 2 or 3 seats high, and they're on the far side, and they face into the acoustic
side.
fence.
Yeah, vineyard side. Well, vineyard, no, it wouldn't be the vineyard side, would it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Would they be able to see through that netting?
There's no netting on that
Oh,
side.
okay.
That's been left open.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the chain link on that side. And then the only other question I had is, I know we've gone around several times on the surface for the path. Originally it was supposed to be decomposed granite, and then I think we got into some ADA issues. Is it currently thought that it would be concrete for the pathway?
We haven't gotten to that point yet. It could be concrete or asphalt, but we do want to meet those ADA requirements.
Yeah, the only comment I would make on asphalt is that the surface and subsoil in that area is very unstable. The courts in the past did have an asphalt layer to them, and because that also is in the floodplain, I think asphalt would be a real maintenance challenge.
Yeah, I think what we had in previous meetings envisioned was continuing the town's standard concrete through there. And then when we talked about the decomposed granite, I think that was focused on what would be sort of like a little picnic area in that back corner. The round circle inside of that could be more of like the surface at Yonko Community Park.
Nice.
But yeah, as you know, we did approve, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission approved this phase 2 concept. And so now, Rosalba gets to do the hard engineering work of figuring out, what's the best way of going about it and getting the specific plans together. So yeah, if there are any major changes to the project, or and we've also brought back finishes to you guys for approval and things like that. So you'll definitely be involved as that goes along.
Thank you.
Quick question on the play surface, what's the equipment surface at the Vineyard Park? Would that have to be replaced too? That seems like it's fairly, maybe it's not been there 5 years, or maybe it has been.
No, we just did that because it was damaged during construction. But what you'll notice, and I was going to say this before, but there's not a lot of shade on the playground at Yonko Community Park, which definitely impacts the lifespan. And so you have a lot more shade at Vineyard Park, so we don't see and you have less traffic there on that surface, so we just don't see the amount of deterioration as quickly there. So, but we did just re-pour that after the court construction project. I think it actually was about a year after, because it was damaged during that. So it's good. Sorry, Rosalba.
The final project shown here at the bottom is another project that was programmed in previous years. The scope of works includes adding accessible parking stalls and access to Forestry Park and Vineyard Park. This project is currently in design. We have a consultant working on it. We haven't chosen a layout for the parking stalls. We do plan on conducting community meetings and outreach to propose any options that we see for this area. So we do expect some meetings coming up in the next few months to update the community on these parking stalls.
I live over there. How would they do parking stalls?
And it's just one handicap parking stall at each location.
Oh, okay, the handicap, okay, yeah, that'd be good.
Just one.
And it wouldn't necessarily encroach on the park's land at all. It's just a change to the streetscape adjacent.
I was thinking of going the other way, like they did by the hotel and by the other park over there, made that, which just worked out well. But
We're
yeah,
gonna put 30 back-in parking spaces on your street, Kathy. No, I'm kidding.
no, it'll never
So-
happen.
so-
Don't repeat that.
Something we look forward to.
I'm one street over, it's okay.
Wow, that'll be a good public meeting. That would be a good one.
Well, you should see what's being done over there already.
know.
To prevent cars being parked around people's neighborhoods. Ooh.
Yeah, lots of trash cans out there. I see that.
You have seen it, okay.
Yeah.
Samantha, could you refresh my memory? I've never heard of Forestry Park referred to as Three Weirs Park. What?
Oh, they're two separate ones. So Forester is in the picture on the left.
Got it. Got
You
it.
probably Three
Yes.
Weirs. We call that a park, but it's really a landscape strip mostly to me. We don't have it on our park list, but it is there.
It actually is a really nice space next
It
to
is.
the creek and the bridge going over, and I do see people, you know, with their dogs there. I'm sort of surprised, you know, with a nice shade that more people don't, you know,
Sit
sort of
there.
just sit there and enjoy the environment because it's very quiet there.
Yeah.
And that really is the end of my presentation. If you have any more comments or questions, I'm here to answer them with the help of Sam.
I get to be the historian now. You know, I've been here so long that I got all the knowledge and the history.
I was just wondering, the one slide that you started with, Rosalba, that had just the financial, the numbers that had with the dates and things. I just know in the past, I guess thinking, going back to packets of our agendas, if we want to go back and look at that information, you know, we don't have that. If maybe we could get that in the future, next meeting or something, or kind of funny
Yeah,
that
what
information.
I can do is we can email the presentation out to you, and then I'll also attach it to the minutes so it's part of the record.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
I had one more question on the overall budget list, Samantha. The outdoor table tennis table, there was some discussion that might happen in the nearer term. Is that going to be handled off the capital budget or some other way?
Yeah, so since that is a lower cost item, it's being programmed in Parks and Recreation sports budget. So we're budgeting for that there.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
That's a lot of stuff. Thank you, Rosalba, for that information. A nice update. And yeah, Kathy, I realized some of that that the Vineyard Park with where the pathway around the corner, you could probably pick it up from that visual and the diagram there with the picnic area, a couple of tables in the north. It would be the southeast corner. Would that be right, Alan? Because I know
Yes.
you know that court so well there.
Yeah.
And the path through there, because the trees are now all planted, right, Sam? That was done last year, or most of them.
Some of them, yeah, they're not all in yet, so I think they're incrementally adding to it. Yeah, so we still have some work to do on, all of the design back there. So
It's a big space back there.
it really is. It's going to be really terrific to have it be more usable. So
I think it will be very sought after because it is right there next to the vineyard. It's sort of secluded on times when the courts aren't in use or even when they are in use. I think you're going to find that's a very popular spot.
perfect.
Thank you for that presentation. That was 7D, so 7E, the information on the Park and Rec Master Plan.
All right, so I'm excited because I feel like we've kind of been in a delay a little bit. So as you remember, I shared the request for proposals information with you at the we didn't meet in January, so it's been November meeting. We did put that out and we received 2 proposals back. Unfortunately, they were from very large consultant firms and far exceeded the budget and scope that we had envisioned. So we kind of went back to the drawing board, and we ended up interviewing several people through RGS, which is Regional Government Services. They often have consultants on their team that are sometimes retired Parks and Recreation professionals, or other professionals in retirement that do consultant work. And so we did end up signing an agreement with two. Chris Liz is one of them, and Charles, which you'll meet at our next meeting. So we went through and met, and we mapped out a great timeline. And so if just to fill Kathy in too, so we are going through the Parks and Rec master planning process, but because of the size of our community and scope, really, and the fact that we're pretty much built out with maybe one large piece of land in play, which would be the elementary school, which we would obviously do a whole other planning process around. It didn't make a lot of sense for us to go out and get an $80,000 Parks and Recreation master plan. So we're doing a lot of that work internally as far as collecting historical data, doing a lot of analysis and collection on our current Parks and Recreation programs, capturing the data on how many picnic tables we have in each park and those types of things, and then working together to look at lifespan and all of that for those. But we did set aside money to hire consultants to do the public outreach process, because we feel like it's very important for the public to know that it's impartial, that there is people that do not work for the town that are out there soliciting and leading the charge on surveys and the public meeting. They're going to gather all that information, and they're going to analyze it and share their report back to you before and then we'll work through the plan as far as what we see those goals to be for the next 5 to 10 years. So the document will really have a lot of shelf life as far as a good capture of the history of Parks and Recreation in Yountville. It'll also help us to better understand what our community's needs are for the future. So what we're doing well, what we want to see more of, where we can improve. And so yeah, I'm really excited. So I wanted to give you a couple dates, and I'll email you these as well. So at the May 19th meeting, the consultants will be there, at least one of them, maybe both, in person, and they will be presenting an overview of the outreach process that we're going to be going through. In your agenda packet, you'll get the draft of the survey that we're going to be using. So then at the meeting, we'll be able to discuss your thoughts on the survey, if there feels like it's capturing all the questions that we may want answered before we finalize that. And then the first week of June, our goal is to go live with that survey. So it'll be available in many different forms, paper, online, mostly, but we're going to do a lot of different outreach methods though to draw people to that. So we're talking about, the town newsletter, which is direct mailed, all of our different marketing methods to get as much feedback from people as we can. And then July 14th is the tentative but pretty firm date right now that we would look to do the public meeting. So that would be, the public would be invited in person, and consultants would lead us through kind of that public input process in person. And so if you've ever been to one of those, maybe you went to a general plan one for the community, or we just had one for the community on the housing element. So kind of similar, but will be related to our Parks and Recreation, getting just another way to get input and feedback from the community. And then at the July 21st meeting, the goal is to have, because they'll be able to, the survey will be open for about 15 days. Which is a good tight window, and I'm okay with that because it could literally go on forever. But if we don't see what we need, we can always extend this. So these are still kind of this July 21st, they hope to be able to have compiled all the results and have some sort of draft analyzed results to present at your July meeting. So if we feel like as we go into the survey, if it's slower than we think, we may have to push that out. But right now, that's the tentative goal. And so then once we get those results, it'll really help us internally to kind of write the rest of the plan, which is, where do we go from here? And that obviously would come back to you. Goal is the September meeting that would come back to you, and we'll do a lot of public outreach around that to get the public's review and engage them in your Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission meetings, so that we make sure that people are aware that these things are being discussed and we're setting these goals for the future. And once the commission is comfortable with that, with the plan, with the future goals, then that would move forward to the council for their approval. So I feel like we've slowly been trucking along, and now we're really going to start getting on the fast track here. So we've continued on the website, to continue building those historical documents, and then once we start getting a lot of these other things in play, it'll be more engaging on there. So it's very exciting. It's going to be a lot of work between now and the end of the year, but I think we're still within our timeline that we set quite a year or 9 months ago. So I think that I'm really excited to work with the two consultants. I think we found a really great way that is financially responsible for a community of our size, and really what we are looking for to get out of the plan. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but if you didn't write those down, I will send out some reminders to you of these important dates as well.
Samantha, I missed, is this once the town council approves it, then this general plan for Parks and Recs, does it go to the state for the final approval like our general plan did? No, doesn't go.
No, we don't have to do that. Yeah, so this will stay in-house and just really help guide, any new policy. It could be policy direction. It could be, it could be ideas behind, when the opportunity presents itself, we want to see the town look towards this, It's a difficult conversation because we all know the elephant in the room is the elementary school property, right? So we don't have a whole lot of areas to add new park space in Yountville, but the question could also be, how do we reprogram the spaces that we have? Are they being used for the things that they should be used for? So it's not that, within a year we'll have checked off all the boxes, but it helps to guide us, for the next series of years. So. And the part that I'm a nerd excited about is to capture all this historical data. Like, we've never really had that for parks and recreation, so to have that historical knowledge in one place is exciting too. So.
I did want to follow up on that, Samantha. That was my thought as well, is how are you feeling about the degree of completion of that at this point? Is there still a lot to do, or do you feel you're 90% there? What's your thinking?
I think we're 90% there. It's just it's tedious to go on the website. Like, we have the majority of the documentation there, but to do all of the links is very time consuming. So the research is done. It's just kind of the mechanics of it that, we just have to nail it, get it down.
So oftentimes, when I'm on the courts, for example, people say, well, when were these courts built? And so it would be nice to be able to say, because I remember when Ashley and I first moved here in 91, we played tennis on those courts not long after. So,
yeah.
And they seemed kind of old then. So
yeah.
you had to go get a key from the to be able to play for a while, and
they would almost every year, I found they would come back to council at that point for a policy and administrative review on the courts. Like, every year it would come up for a series of like 10 years. So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, and my goal too is to make it, right now it's kind of a rough list, but at some point to figure out a way to make it more of like a searchable document system. So integrate all of that kind of back into our own Laserfish system with, easy links so that people are able to type in, Vineyard Park or tennis courts and then easily find these things. So,
that would be super.
yeah.
Thank you.
Do you think that if there's, I'm just offering I'm talking for us here in the group, but if there's anything that the consultants would want to get information from us or chat with us or something before May 19th, I guess. That's the first time that we should, our next meeting.
Yeah, so you'll meet them and they'll give an overview. We're still discussing it, but on that July 14th date, there may be an opportunity for them to meet with focus groups or people, stakeholders prior to that public meeting as well. So we're still kind of vetting that process out, but we may ask, for you to meet with them prior to that, one-on-one, not as a commission. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Because I'm picturing that kind of like the Envision meetings.
Yeah.
We would do those roundtable discussion groups.
Yeah.
That's what our idea is.
And we would, you are all more than welcome and invited to participate in that public meeting. What I would do is just agendize it as a special PRAC meeting, because if you're all in one place, then I just have to agendize it, but that's all I do. So, it's such a strange small town. In a small town, people do and wear so many hats. So I don't want you to feel like you can't participate, all of you, but I would just post an agenda and it'd be easy. Yeah.
I think that sounds good. It's very easy to do that. The different parts there. Oh, a lot going on in this little town, right?
Yes.
There's no people. Thanks for that update. I guess now we're on 8A General Public Works updates, and I bet Rosalba, that might be you again, huh?
Yes. Other than the projects that we went over in the PowerPoint, we are actually getting ready to, we already purchased them, but we're hoping to install within the next month or two some charging stations, electrical vehicle charging stations at 2 parks. So a dual station, so that will service 2 vehicles, will go at the community park at the north end of town, and another dual station will go at Veterans Park at the south end of town. So we have those on order. Hopefully they'll be delivered in the next few weeks, and then right now we're getting quotes on the installation.
Cool.
Were those grant funded as well, Rosalba?
Yes, and I can't remember the acronym, but it's EVIP grant. So we were able to get the grant money for those 2.
How many do we have? Are there at the community center? Are there more than 2, or is it just
We
the
currently
2?
have the 2, yeah, but that's
Okay.
something that's on the list as well, is looking at additional ones. I know we're working on that, and Rosalba had a terrific solution, because I always look at, when we have a big event at the community center, we're taking up every space, and then we lose a series because they can only be an electric vehicle. She had a terrific solution, which is we'll just get covers for them to put out as needed for event parking. So, but for the majority of the time, it's going to be available, which is great.
And then Town Hall has 2 also? 2, right. So now that will be 8, right? And the 4 locations then, with the 2 new parks and then community center and the Town Hall. Those are the
Yes. So, yeah.
cool. Let's see. Okay, so we're on now to 8B, General Parks and Recreation update.
Yeah, so it is busy. We are very busy. We are finishing up our summer rec guide right now, and it will be in mailboxes the second week of April. So we are going back to the 3 times a year rec guide. So this guide will be summer. It will take us through August, and then in early August, the fall brochure will come out, and then we'll do winter, spring. We have all been working diligently on budget preparation, so it's a really busy time for all of our departments. And it's interesting because, we've 2 years of pandemic, the budget has looked very different. So we come back this year to a more return to normal as far as the budget for Parks and Recreation. So we're working through that process. We are hiring for summer camp. So you'll start to see some more advertisements around that. We need to fill about half of our positions this summer, as some of our staff have moved on. And we are spending quite a bit of time on grant research. So I think we discussed this, or Steve brought it up at a prior meeting, that the town contracted with a company or consultants to assist the town in grant research. So as Rosalba talked about the new charging station grants, and so yeah, we're looking at a lot of different ways of being creative to get things done that we have on our list. So you might be hearing more about that. We already had it on my list, but Rosalba brought it up, is the 2-week maintenance shutdown in August. So obviously we'll do a lot of public promotion as we lead up to that, but it just felt like the most productive way to get as much done in a short period of time as we possibly can. And we've actually never done that, which is not common. We relocated our front office when we had all of that water damage for a week or two, but other than that, we've never done kind of a large-scale maintenance on the facility all at one time. So I really appreciate Public Works' willingness to help me get all that going at once. But I think that's about it. You're going to see in the summer guide just a really a return to kind of normal as far as music in the park and movies in the park. The Residents Bash will be back in August. We'll have a full summer camp season. The golden ticket classes will take a break in the summer. As you know, this is our 3rd summer with Camp Wyville at the community center, and it pretty much requires the whole center. So we're not able to use the elementary school at all. So classes take a short 8-week break, and then we resume again. But I think it's we're all kind of getting used to that cycle of the programming. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
About the camp, then it's good hearing you say that back to full circuit on the summer camp. No, not having to worry about the cohort groups anymore. The small groups and limiting the number of kids you could have every week.
Yeah, so it's going to be great to be able to have more of a return to that. I mean, I think if you may be familiar, but we all typically break the kids up anyways by age. So the cohorts were difficult because you had to have sibling groups together. So it kind of threw all that age thing out the window, but it'll be nice not to have to jump through those hoops. We're bringing back field trips. We're only bringing back 4. A lot of the destination-y things for kids are in the San Francisco area, so they still have a requirement, at least at this time, for proof of vaccination, which is difficult with children. So it kind of limited where we can go, but we're going to add 4 back. And then we're really working hard to work with Waves Aquatics. So they run the St. Helena High School pool as a contractor. So we're hoping to bring back 1 day of swimming a week, and we'll ride the Vine bus system to St. Helena to go to the pool once a week. So I think we're all excited to be able to give those kids those options that we had to kind of take away for 2 years. So
yeah, because I think I had one summer I helped out with the summer camps, but we were at the elementary school pretty much. We really were not at the community center, and when we closed, is that all the area we used them. Outside area, the 2 modular classroom areas. Where are we going to put all those kids? And so
it's working well. I mean, definitely a learning curve for all of us, and the kids are really hard on the facility, and that's something that we're planning for better now. Is knowing that that's kind of what happens and figuring out how to plan for it. So we go and we play at the playground up there, but they've taken the swings down, they've taken all of the basketball hoops down. So but we have great parks too. So
I had a question, Samantha, with the census having been completed, I guess, just last year. Do we have a sense of the number of kids in town these days?
It's very low as far as resident kids. Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't done a whole lot of analysis on the census data, but it definitely is low. I don't think that's a surprise to any of us, especially with the number of second homeowners and But the nice thing is I think we've met 2 new families in the past few months that have moved to town with young children. So that's always positive. In a town of our size, I guess you can count those on one hand, but it's better than no kids. So, but what we find is just how important it is for, because we're full with children's programs. There is a need in the community, and if we get 2 or 3, Yonko resident kids in a mini sports program, then that's wonderful. And the other ones are helping us be able to offer it for those 2 or 3 Yonko kids. But summer camp, I feel like specifically, we just serve such a large portion of employees that work, whether it's in Yountville or Up Valley, a childcare option for them. It's really, I think, a huge thing for the employment community, for really mostly restaurants and hotels and people that work in the wineries. So we have a lot of kids that the parents work Up Valley and they come from Napa and they drop them off and they go to work.
Yeah.
In addition, Samantha, I think it's great that we brought, when I say that the commission brought Chris Ray on last year, because he lives here, he has young children, as opposed to most of us, we are almost in the second home type of situation as seniors. It's great having somebody, even though Chris is currently in Arizona, that has some input about what's happening with children. So I think that was a very good addition to the commission last year. Very good.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Samantha, do you have a sense? I know there was some effort, especially on the part of the mayor, to try and coordinate with the state and do some sort of workforce housing at the veterans home. Has that just fallen by the wayside, or what's the...
I don't think so. I think it's definitely something that I still hear come up, but I think that COVID kind of threw them into one focus, really, and they are, on a positive note, construction is starting on the new SNF unit up there. I just talked to one of their employees, the other day. They're having a lot of the same hiring and retention issues that other people are having, and so the state hasn't let off the gas as far as requiring those housing numbers, and looking at open state land is one of the first places they're looking. So I don't have any real news, but I know it's not off the table. I know it's still in process. So
Good.
It could change the whole dynamic of the town.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
Dramatically, as could the school property, depending upon which way that goes. Is there a timeline or any sense of when the town would have to move forward to make a commitment on that property?
I don't. I know there are closed sessions that are going on regarding that, but I'm not aware of the information. So, but I know it's not. It is still being discussed as far as how to move forward.
Right, but it's not 6 months. It's years, maybe.
Steve really does not want that to happen. He does not want it to continue sitting. I mean, we're already years in at this point. So
exactly.
And the council does not either. They don't want it to continue being drug out. So I think that hopefully in the next 6 months we'll see some movement there as far as
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Especially, Alan, you brought that up. I was thinking of that as well. That in the media and the register, they're covering so much with Napa Unified and Harvest closing, and they're just about keeping that as a recreation spot for the town. And then others, closing and the renaming with River to the new one there. But there's been nothing in the paper that Yonko hasn't been in it. It's just kind of it's kind of like it's just not mentioned. I'm thinking about it. And that quick topic of it, I remember when the whole thing was happening, wasn't there something with a baseball diamond, the softball area there? That was something that it could still stay there with whatever kind of housing or whatever the construction would happen. There was something that it was.
I'm not totally sure. There is some state requirements as far as like, let's say they sold that whole piece of property for development, like there has to retain a piece for Parks and Recreation services. So, but yeah, I don't know exactly guaranteeing any. I have no idea. I don't think what that would be like or how to sustain that. Little League does have 3 teams this year, though. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
And they were practicing yesterday over by there. They were the Little League yesterday late afternoon, and then there was soccer. I think some kids playing soccer back there. And then aren't they doing the Jen's got the soccer kids. I don't know if Boyd's still coaching them. And
No, Garrett, that's Garrett's program now.
That's Garrett's, okay.
On mini baseball, so they're doing mini something, hitter, I forget what we call it.
Okay.
Something.
Yeah,
Sluggers, little sluggers.
little sluggers, that's right. It was just fun hearing a bunch of little kids having fun. I was
Yeah.
walking by, I'm like, where did all these kids come from? You know, I looked over back there. Thank you on that. I guess on to the next one. Any commissioner comments or reports that we haven't already discussed that anybody wanted to add on? I think I resolved it just to pass on the public works stuff, and I hear a lot of people still, I mean, just everyone's complimenting all the parks and everything are just really nice, even the drought, you know, the signs are up about this, but they look really nice, the flowers and the trimming, they're just, you guys, the days that I'm walking through town in the parks, they're just, someone's always out doing some work in the parks.
Thank you. I'll let everybody know.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. I ran into one of the public works persons that works in the park, and they just commented that maybe I misunderstood, but I got the impression that your staff is not complete. It's not. Are you fully staffed now, or do you still have some open positions?
We have some vacant positions, not just for public, for that portion, for different areas. So we still have some openings.
Yeah, I think the comment was it was a little hard to, do everything that was on the list because of being a little short-staffed. That's all. And so, is there an intent to fill those positions, or for budget reasons they're not going to be filled? If you could fill me in, I'd appreciate it.
Right now we're in the early stages of reviewing the budget. I'm not sure what part of that focuses on staff positions, but it is something we're looking into.
Thank you.
And Alan, just for the current budget year, it wasn't a budgetary decision, it's a recruitment issue. So we've recruited several times for a couple positions unsuccessfully as well, so.
Like everything else, staffing, yeah.
And it is specifically in parks maintenance, we do usually have 2 part-time park maintenance workers, but they have a cap on the amount of hours they can work each year. And that's been a challenging one to recruit for too because of that.
I guess we're on to number 10, the adjournment. Can I invite a motion to adjourn the meeting for March 17th, 2022?
I make the motion that we adjourn this meeting until the following one in May. And thank you for the staff for everything you've put into this point. Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
And this one we can just do all in favor.
Okay.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome, Kathy. Hope we didn't scare you away.
And really thank you, Alan and Carol, for continuing on with the commission. It really is helpful for the continuing our process for the master plan and just having some consistency. So I really appreciate that. And Kathy, I'm super excited to have you join.
Thank you.
Well, I was, pleased to have the opportunity to serve again, especially considering the quality of applicants. It was not. It was not.
Yeah, we had some really great applicants, which is exciting for me. So,
Yeah.
Congratulations, Kathy.
Yes.
All right, I will
will have
see you
Dave
soon.
too. Didn't
Yeah.
mean to leave you out because you were on election.
Oh no, he got thanked a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Dave's-
Rosalba, it's
Really?
nice to meet you on the screen. I've seen you on some of the screen at town meetings, and I'm like, I don't know her, but nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Aye.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
You too, Dave.
Bye.